Okay, Conservation Commission meeting, January 22nd, 2025, and present are
Evelyn Miller.
Peter Georgiantis, Selectmen's Rep.
Patty Gale, Planning and Zoning Assistant.
Jean Walker.
Jane Raymond.
David Neiman.
Okay, first on the agenda is map 29, lot 36. Request for a variance for relief of adding an addition to the existing Masonic Temple building that will be located within the inner 50-foot of the 100-foot wetland surface water conservation district buffer. The applicant wishes to add an addition along with on-site associated improvements to convert the existing building into a 12-unit residential multifamily apartment building. The property is located at 415 Mountain Road, owned by the Masonic Building Association, and the applicant is R.L. Bella Properties LLC, Zone Residential and the Wet Lawn Overlay District. Recommendation is needed to go to the ZBA. Do we have this? We have this before us. Do we have anyone here? They want to present their name and.
Sure. Good evening to the commission. My name is Jeff Merritt. I'm an engineer with Granite Engineering. We're the civil site engineers for the project. And this is Ray Belia. Ray is the applicant for the project, and he is contemplating purchasing this property, the property at 15 Mountain Road. We wanted to come to the commission kind of at a conceptual level. We have a lot of work left to do on this project, really before we can even make it a project. So our first stop was kind of coming to you folks at a conceptual level. The project requires a number of different variances, one of which is working within the first 50 feet of the surface water buffer, which is why we're here tonight to talk with you folks. There's a host of other variances that we're going to be seeking for the project. So we know we have to come back to the commission ultimately. This is kind of preliminary, if you will, just to talk about the scope of what we want to do within that first 50 feet. And then should we be successful at the zoning board, we'd be back to you folks with the full design with all the details there. So I think the commission probably knows where this is. It's been developed for quite some time. This is right on the corner of Mountain Road and Knollcrest Road. It was last used, I believe, by the Lafayette Bible Group, and then, of course, it's historically been the Masonic Temple, and it's still owned by the Masonic Building Association. We did a survey, and that's the first sheet that is in your staple plan there. I got it up on the board here, and I put some color to it just to kind of make it pop. We got roughly 3/4 of an acre of land. This is the R1 zoning district. It, of course, is developed, tax records suggest it was developed in 1970, so mere 55 years ago. There's a single brick building on it, and then if you look at the survey, there's two driveways. One is off of Mountain Road, right here, and then a second large, giant one off of Knollcrest. So there's two curb cuts that service the property. The paved areas that are north, east, and south of the building are actually parking areas. This parking area right here off of Knollcrest, it's kind of strange, but you back out into the road. Must have been something that was done in the 70s. There's a real large back-to-back parking area here to the east, and then to the south, when you enter the facility, there's angled parking spaces up against kind of the south limits of the edge of pavement here. And then the south property line is actually the center of the brook, of Whittlebrook out there. So that is on the very bottom of the plan right here. And of course, there is a 100-foot buffer from that. And so on your plan, you'll see a line that kind of splits the temple building. You see that on the plan? That's the 100-foot projection. And then this middle green line, I have a green on my plan, just so I can point it to you folks. This is the green line, the 100-foot buffer, and then the middle line here is that 50-foot projection. So as you can see, there's a lot of the property that's actually within that 100-foot. Roughly half of the property is within that 100-foot buffer today. A good portion of what is within that 100-foot buffer is already building and/or pavement. And you can kind of get a good glimpse of that on the existing conditions plan. In terms of what exists today for stormwater controls, there's not much. Again, this is 50, 55 years ago when it was built. Stormwater standards really didn't exist back then. Everything out there pretty much sheet flows into Whittlebrook. So there's a high point right out here. There's a little bit that goes to Knollcrest, but the vast majority of the site drains from north to south towards and into Whittlebrook out there without benefit of any stormwater improvements. So the proposal is on the second sheet. This is what I'm trying to do.
This is amazing.
We'd like to change the use of the building. In the past, it's been an assembly area, if you will, and it would be proposed to be multifamily. The existing building would be salvaged, and that would be converted to units. And then on our plan, you can see that blue rectangle that we have there to the east. That would be a proposed addition to the building. So we would have a proposal for 8 units in the existing building, and then 4 additional units in that small addition, for a total of 12 units. The driveways, we'd still have 2 access points. We'd have one off of Mountain Road and then one off of Knollcrest. However, we'd change the circulation such that it's a one-way access, so you'd come in only off of Mountain Road, and then you would exit onto Knollcrest. And then we've lined up the driveway on Knollcrest to be across from the private drive that's called Sudipha Lane out there. We have shown 24 parking spaces and 1 handicap space. The edge of pavement that we're showing along the south side, which is closest to the brook, that's not proposed to go any closer to the brook, so that's the limits of the pavement as it exists today. So we're not actually proposing to extend the pavement, closer to the brook. And then the only other site improvement really is this small dumpster enclosure that we're proposing here. Small area for loading. We don't expect big deliveries here, probably Amazon truck kind of thing, and a U-Haul once in a while, that kind of thing. So those are the improvements that we're proposing on the site. The reason we wanted to talk to the commission is we're proposing work within that first 50-foot buffer. Well, in fact, we're proposing work within the 100-foot buffer, because you really can't do much on the property without being in either the 50 or the 100. But specifically the 50-foot, that first 50-foot, the inner 50 feet requires a variance to work in, whereas the latter can be permitted without a variance, if you will, at the planning board level. So within that first 50 feet, we'd like to do a stormwater system. Again, like what exists today is essentially nothing in terms of stormwater. It sheet flows off that large pavement area. It discharges to the brook out there. We'd like to do a stormwater area back in through here, which would pick up a lot of that untreated stormwater today. Our thoughts were to do either a bioretention system and or an infiltration system if the soils test out appropriately. We do end up with a net reduction in impervious coverage. So overall, we're scaling back the amount of pavement on site. We're also scaling back the amount of pavement that would be within the public right-of-way. So there's a net reduction as part of the project. We can use the pavement more efficiently than it was in the past, even with the addition that we're proposing. So again, we know we need to come back to the commission in the future. Our first hurdle, of course, to make it a viable project is to actually get the variances needed for the project so that we can then design the project and come back to you. So we were looking for input from the commission relative to the plans for work within the first 50 feet there as it pertains to a stormwater system. And then should we be successful at the zoning level, then we would come back with a full design, obviously go through a full review, a formal review with you folks again before we went to the planning board. But I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So all of your work's going to be done in the 100-foot anyways, correct?
So not all the work is done within that. So this green line is the 100-foot. So the work that is north of this green line, some of the building, this paved area, that is not in the 100-foot.
But the majority,
Yeah, but exactly, like, and again, the majority of the 100-foot buffer today is already worked in. So we're kind of working within the footprint that's already worked in, but then we want to expand the footprint slightly such that we can do a stormwater pond where none existed.
Yep, Jane?
Well, I have two questions. One, I think if this proposal goes forward, I think it is an excellent idea to have a detention pond of some kind. I would simply add my comment, which is that we see detention ponds, depending on what kind you end up building, are sometimes a great place to grow all kinds of invasive plants. So I would simply want some sort of notation that it would be maintained and the nasty, nasty things that want to grow there don't grow there.
Yep.
That would be my first comment.
Sure.
And I think it's a good idea. I mean, it certainly would help the brook to stop the sheet flow off the property. And then the other question I have is really not so much about the wetland, but on the other side, you're taking away pavement. What's going to be there when the pavement's gone? What are you going to do with that bit?
So, big part of the reduction is actually up into here. So if you go out Knoll Crest,
Mhm.
you can kind of park towards the building. I don't know if you can picture that driving out there, but
Yeah.
you come in and all this is pavement in through here, so that's gonna be removed. And this area would be returned back to lawn. The street itself, instead of being, that giant width it is today, we would formalize the width of it to the town standard here. So like, some of the reduction in pavement is actually in the public right of way, and then some of the reduction in pavement is on the.
So does it have to be lawn?
I mean, what else?
Native plants, native
Oh,
grasses?
you mean landscaping?
Yeah,
Yeah, so
I-
when I say lawn, I mean,
We're not there yet.
your typical,
Okay.
We're not
okay.
there yet, Jane.
yeah.
No, he wants to know what we think. I'm throwing it out there.
And he'll be required to do landscaping
Yeah.
through the planning
Right,
board.
but I would just say,
It wouldn't be forested or something like that, but it'd be
No.
something in character with the
Well,
site plan.
I guess the other question, and I'm thinking Collis isn't here, but he always asks this question, so I'll throw it out, is if there are gonna be children in this building, would there be some sort of, I don't know, playground for kids? Is
Or
that
open area.
Yeah, is
communal
that,
area.
I can't quite tell how big that really is.
So it's something that, usually the planning board gets into that, and this type, what we're going for here is a lot smaller units. So one of the variances, not that it matters according, with what you guys do, but just for your information, one of the variances what we're seeking is to reduce the unit size from what's written in the ordinance. I believe the ordinance requires 800 square feet. We're asking for something less than that. And the intent is to market towards, young professionals, individuals that need a single unit, someone that doesn't necessarily have a family yet. So could there be kids here? Sure. Is it likely? It's probably not as likely to have them here as you would in any other typical apartment facility.
Okay.
Yeah.
The
But we'll
work
have
to be
to-
done in the 50-foot, is that just the detention pond?
Yeah, so in 50 foot, we would redirect the stormwater and collect it probably along the backside of the existing pavement today. We either do it via curbs, or we might cut in a swale, and then we would do a stormwater pond in this area here. And again, I'm thinking it would either be a bioretention system, or if the soils test out well, then we may actually be able to do an infiltration system. The parent soils out here are mapped out as a Windsor urban complex. Urban because it's already developed here, but Windsor is an excellent soil for infiltration. It's a very good soil. So if we have that, then we would probably utilize that.
Evelyn? Yeah.
Well, looking at this, it looks to me like all the area that could affect the stream is where your big parking area is, and then you're planning on putting a detention pond there. But then on the other side of the building, that you're saying clear stuff away, I guess I'm looking at it saying, why don't you put a lot of the parking, reverse your plan?
Yeah, there's not enough width. What is frowned upon today, and for good reason, is exactly how they have the parking today. Head-on parking where you reverse out into a public way, it's not appropriate. It somehow got implemented back in the years, but it's not a safe thing to do. There isn't a planning board out there that should approve that. So there isn't enough width for us to get a parallel street, a parallel driveway in here and parking here without spilling into the public right of way.
I guess that was a big question of mine, though, is that's where you're gonna have.
You wouldn't meet the
Dave?
parking requirements.
David?
Yeah, I was passing through the village this afternoon and thought, oh, I should stop and take a look. So I'll just address a couple of points based on what I saw out there. I mean, since you just asked that question, because I thought that too when I first looked at the plan. But yeah, it's really narrow along there, and
Okay.
I mean, essentially, there's no differentiation between the street and the parking.
It's
just-
wild.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's just all solid pavement, and there's a lot of pavement around there. So can't imagine you'd have any kind of an issue getting the variance, because you're not seeking a variance that's going to degrade the environmental quality. In
It's
fact,
the opposite.
it's the
You're improving
opposite.
it.
It's going to improve the environmental quality at this site because of the management of the stormwater for the first time. And I'm just going to step up to the plan here because it'll be easier and less confusing for what I'm about to say next. But yeah, I noticed that it's very flat with the sheet flowing and all that. And he said a lot of it comes this way. And particularly, I noticed kind of a line here where everything in this direction is going into this corner, coming right into this corner, and then going right into Whittle Brook. And the pavement comes so close, I stepped it off 5 feet. 5 feet from the edge of the pavement to where it just plunges straight down into the brook. So all that runoff is going there. So my question was, if it would be possible to shave back some of this a bit more, and kind of focus on not having that runoff into the brook there and trying to get it into the storm management system, although other than the storm management system that you implemented, what goes into the storm sewers over here probably goes straight to the river anyway.
I think we would try. We can't fix everything, but there's an extra
Yeah.
width of pavement right here. You can see where my finger is. So there's the ability to cut back the pavement a little bit. The other thing that we want to look at when we do the design is potentially changing the grade of the pavement out there. And we can do a lot with, a piece of curb and changing the grade there so that we can pick, a spot that might be a low spot and actually force it to go to a different low spot. So, that's why we've identified this. Are we going to catch every last bit of pavement out here? No, I mean, that's unrealistic, but are we going to make a significant benefit in terms of stormwater quality? I think you'd be hard pressed to say anything other than yes.
Well, you already answered my next question, was about raising the pavement in that corner.
Yeah, we'd look at all that,
And then someone else had asked about potential playground. That's a really tight site out there.
Is it too
There's-
small?
Yeah, there's just no place you can put it.
Okay,
Okay.
Patty, would you?
Yep, so Andrew Chaplin couldn't be here, and he asked me to pass along his comments. He said he appreciates the removal of the impervious surfaces as long as they follow best minute practices during the maintenance, and best management practices during the construction phase. That's what it means.
Yeah, that's all pretty standard.
And they'll be required to do that.
Okay, should I ask the audience?
Yeah.
Is there anybody in the audience that had questions on this site plan? No? Okay, thank you.
And
Do we have to?
Yeah, we do. We have to send something.
Make a motion?
We have to,
Yeah,
we have to
so-
get the motion together.
to make a recommendation on their
It's a
variance
recommendation
request
for this.
for there's disturbances within the inner
Are we
50
supposed
foot.
to indicate where they should be putting their sand, or I'm sorry, it's, they're gonna be plowing it.
That's gonna be part, well, I mean, so this isn't the site plan at all.
Okay.
This
So
is-
we're gonna see
is-
this again.
Yes.
You're gonna
Okay.
see this, they have
But
to go to the
they wanted
ZBA
to know
first.
some of our concerns, that was.
Yeah, and we'll come back in for site plan review where we
This
have
is
more
just for
engineered
the,
plans.
this is for the 50 foot.
I'm sure you're gonna be salting and sanding, and you don't want to be stuck on the side focus for the stream.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have anyone
Well, I
make
make a motion that we send our comments, but where are we sending them?
To the
a
zoning board.
zoning
To
board?
zoning board.
The
Okay.
So the ordinance requires them to come here
Yep.
to make a recommendation to the ZBA for granting a variance for impacts in the inner buffer.
Well, I would make a motion that we send a memo or message to the ZBA that the proposed stormwater treatment plan, drawing, looks like it would be a big improvement for the property and the water quality of the
David,
property.
would you like to add what you had said, please?
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with Jane. I would, make a motion, something along the lines of, in light of explaining why we would recommend variance, but in light of the environmental improvements that could be made in this project, including treatment of some of the stormwater runoff, minimizing the untreated drainage into Whittle Brook, and reduction of the total impervious area. In light of those improvements, we would recommend the variance.
Recommend granting of the variance.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
So that's a second, right?
So
Yours
you
is-
second it?
I'll second it.
So,
Take his motion, he got it
Okay.
put together better than I did.
Okay, all those in favor?
No, I wanted to add
Oh,
something.
you want to add to that?
Well, yeah, you know what, detention ponds are wonderful. And talking about, native plants and all that. But it has to have somebody that is going to check on this to see if it, because sometimes it's just gonna
That's
get,
the next one.
That
That's the
that would
next-
be, they'll be required to do that
that's
for
the
part of the
next-
site
that's the
plan. They'll
next
have to
one.
have
Alright.
a maintenance agreement.
all right,
And that will be
We're just
required
doing
from
the
the Department of
50 foot.
Public Works.
Okay.
Right now,
Okay.
okay?
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstaining? Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
Two members.
I know. She's-
I got it. Okay.
we got 'em. Okay, we have map 6, lot 1-6-1 and lot
oh, okay.
and
This is Tower-
1-6-2.
Tower Lane.
Site review for a proposal to construct a 2,000 square foot commercial vehicle repair facility along with associated improvements to the location on map 6, lot 1-6-1. Also being proposed is to access the property via an access easement through the adjoining property on map 6, lot 1-6-2. The property is owned by TMS Tower Hill Holdings, LLC, map 6, lot 1-6-1, and Tower Growth Partners, LLC, map 6, lot 1-6-2, located at Tower Hill Lane off of Goffstown Back Road, zone commercial industrial flex zone. Recommendation is needed to be forwarded to the planning board. We have someone presenting.
Good evening. I'm Trevor Yanda with Meridian Land Services on behalf of the applicant. I guess just a quick project overview. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Tower Lane and the subject properties. It involves two parcels, and it's for a proposed automotive repair facility. So TMS Diesel does heavy-duty work on diesel vehicles, from personal pickup trucks to larger construction equipment. So that's what they would be servicing at this shop. And the project involves a 15,200 square foot building, highlighted in pink here on map 6, lot 1-6-1. And the main portion of the building for repair would be 12,800 square feet. And then there would be a 2,400 square foot front office space that would be used to facilitate typical business operations. And then the kind of ancillary improvements to the site would be obviously parking circulation. You've got customer and employee parking up front, and then in the rear of the parcel, some larger spaces to house vehicles that are kind of in the queue to be worked on. And the site is accessed through an existing access easement through map 6 lot 1-6-2. The total length of the driveway is around 950 feet from the end of Tower Lane. As part of the access for it, at the time of the subdivision, which was back in 2004, 2005, there was a wetlands permit approved for a culvert that would provide access to these parcels, which was approved and constructed. So we're utilizing that existing culvert for this driveway. So we're not intending on, ripping it out, replacing it. So that would remain as it is. And as far as stormwater on site, which I know is a big point of concern and both in the town and at the state level, we have 3 stormwater ponds that will provide treatment and mitigation for this site. There's 2 ponds in the front that would accept flow. It basically splits the front of the site. Half flows to this pond to the south, half flows to the one to the north via sheet flow and directed via Cape Cod berm or curbing on the site. Those ponds both provide treatment and attenuation as well as recharge for the infiltration pond. The one to the south is an infiltration pond. The one to the north side is a wet pond. So that would have a permanent pool of water, again, that would provide nutrient removal, treatment, uptake, so on and so forth. And then similarly at the back, this pond receives the flow from most of the rear of the site via closed drainage. So there's catch basins that would have sumps and oil hoods that would allow any potential leaks or spills from vehicles to be filtered out and obviously cleaned up as needed. This is also an infiltration pond which provides recharge, treatment, and attenuation, both in accordance with the Goffstown regulations, and we will be seeking an alteration of terrain permit for this project as well. I guess, and as far as the wetlands are concerned, there's obviously a very large existing, for lack of a better term, it's a beaver pond essentially is kind of what it's become, but a large wetland system. It's about 5 acres that kind of bisects these 2 parcels and is a very large component of the main parcel that we're working on. We're not proposing any wetland impacts as part of this project, and it being in the commercial industrial flex zone, there aren't any of the buffers to adhere to. We did our best, to kind of stay central while also being able to meet the access needs for the client, because they do have larger trailers that come in with vehicles to work on. So site circulation was paramount as part of this. As far as erosion and sedimentation controls, that'll all be, that is detailed on one of the sheets of the plans that I did bring with me here. Sheet SP5 shows a little bit more detail for kind of the main portion of the site. This is the closed drainage that I was talking about for the rear of the site. But we've got double perimeter controls wherever we're within 50 feet of a wetland to minimize any pollution or issues during construction. We are really excited to move this project forward and would welcome any questions, comments that you guys have.
The parking that you have close to the wetlands,
Up here?
yeah,
Yep.
when you do construction, you're going to be, how far are you?
How far? It's about, I would say, to the limits of work, it's probably about 20 feet.
20 feet. definitely be in the 50 flow.
Yes.
They're exempt from the buffers.
I know,
Yeah.
I
That's
know.
what I was thinking. the
I'm just,
commercial, yeah.
just checking on that.
Yeah.
Anybody have any, David?
So yeah, the first thing when I looked at this plan, the first thing I thought about was, organic residues and oil and gasoline and solvents used in maintenance and whatnot. And so you did mention that there is some type of separation, oil separation system. Can you go into more detail on that? Because I have no idea what.
Yeah,
that
so
would involve.
all of these, it's a device that would be installed within each of these structures, in the drainage structures, and essentially what it does is it sits on the outlet pipe of the structure. So I guess just using this one as an example, this pipe is the outlet pipe for this catch basin. The oil and gas debris hood sits over the pipe, and since oil floats, right, anything that when it fills up with water, that hood is going to allow the water to bypass and flow out while the oil floats above the inlet. And then there's an absorbent, rag or sock essentially that is incorporated into these devices to soak up that petroleum or whatever the case
So
may
then
be.
does somebody come and remove that sock every once in a while? And
Yeah, there's-
replace it with something else? I mean, you're not.
There would be, annual or semi-annual maintenance for the entire stormwater system as part of both that the town requires us to do and that the state requires us to do. So that would be part of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you'll have like a sweat for this project, or?
There'll be a SWIP for construction, but I guess as far as a spill prevention plan or there would be something to that effect. I don't know necessarily, from a state requirement standpoint. There's nothing that I'm aware of that would require that, but that's something that we definitely would want to include for it. And all the other work on the vehicles is done within the building. So any spills or anything would obviously continue to the shop area.
Right, and I'm assuming any drains internally are not going into the storm system.
Correct. And there's no floor drains proposed anyway. So.
Inside the building?
No.
My concern would just be draining into the wetlands, from maintenance.
Okay.
Well, I'm sure if Collis were here, he would come out and state, according to, and then give a number or something, and just make sure that when during your building processing, that you put up barriers that do not allow anything into that water.
Yeah, they're gonna need to be, obviously, most of the site flows, obviously, towards the wetlands, so this whole northern edge of the limits of work would be, either a silt fence or, stump grindings and a filter sock to keep any construction erosion on site, and obviously they're gonna be maintained.
Because you're gonna be close.
Yes.
That was interesting, and he said, and obviously would be maintained. So even after the construction, and I know you have these ponds here, but you're saying still,
Well, so.
or maintained while you're
No,
constructing?
maintained during construction until the site is stable. Yeah.
June?
I'm on, I think this is LS-1.
Yep, the landscaping plan.
And I'm looking at these little triangles that say snow storage.
Yep.
And I'm just going to ask, when all that snow melts, is that water being captured?
No, it would not be. I mean, unless it's, and I didn't bring, I don't have the landscaping plan in front of me, but basically it was all off pavement, just outside the curbing is where we were showing the snow storage. This is a site that, there is enough pavement where we could potentially have snow storage on the pavement. Obviously, we don't want to inhibit any operations of the site. But they're not intending on using any salt or de-icing chemicals. It would all be like sand to de-ice or, the parking area. But-
Well, I'm going to voice my concern about this, and that is that when you plow these parking lots, you're going to be scraping up
Whatever's on.
whatever's there, and vehicles that need repair leak things.
Mhm.
We've all had that happen to ourselves in
Yes.
our own driveways. And so my concern is these piles of snow won't just be snow, they'll be full of whatever comes off the parking lot.
Mhm.
And my concern would be that there be some way to make sure that when they melt,
Interesting.
it doesn't go straight into the wetland, it goes into your infiltration process.
Mhm.
And, I mean, there's a little tiny one over on this side, and then there's two, and I don't know, it doesn't look like there's enough snow storage to me, but I don't, you're the engineer, you'll have to know if there's enough snow
I
storage.
think we can work to modify the landscaping plan to keep as much as is reasonable on the parking area. So that, over here we have a decent amount of space where anything that melts would then flow to these catch basins. I think,
Move your snow storage to a different spot, I guess that would be the
Yep,
best thing to do.
understood.
And then I would also add that we generally like to recommend landscaping using native plants
Yes.
and be aware of the invasives that will try to
Yep,
take up residence
Understood.
in your ponds.
thank you.
Yeah, regarding those comments, which I agree with, normally we want to see less impermeable areas as possible, but in this case, if a little bit more pavement or something was required to keep the snow storage within an area where it can be captured,
Mhm.
and then going through the treatment to separate the organics, that might be something to consider doing. That might be a good trade-off. Also, can we assume that any type of solvent which might have some degree of miscibility with water would only be used within the building?
Yes.
Because there are some, yeah, okay.
Oh, I was getting back to the inside of the building though, and this is, I'm sure, a building thing that they're gonna be talking about, but when you're repairing big, huge vehicles, my husband tends to be very handy, so he gets into, and he might use hot steam or hot water. I mean, sometimes you're really gonna have to wash things off before you get in there and really work on them. This is the engine or something?
Yep.
And you're saying you're not gonna have any drains in there? And I'm assuming that you're with the project. She's-
No. We actually have, they're encased parts washers, so, and I'm new to this. This isn't where I grew up. But we actually, if we need to wash anything, it's encased, the water's recycled. It
Okay.
isn't put out, so it recycles the water, it cleans the parts. And because my husband would make the same mess, and that's not how they do it there.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, well, I know they're gonna have to do that kind of thing.
And- yeah.
And so then they do have something built
Yes.
that,
It's-
because that is
yeah.
something that you would not want to get.
It kind of looks
Okay.
like it's a big stand-up thing that they put it in, and the door shuts, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
metal, and you hear it going, and.
Can my
you know,
husband come over and use that
Excuse me,
sometimes?
anybody's welcome.
Great.
Can I,
But I know, it makes.
can I just get your name?
Oh, sure, it's Leah Garrettson.
Great,
Okay.
okay, that makes me feel a
Yeah,
lot better.
no, it,
Because this is a treasure that you're looking at. you know, the
Honestly, that's
Beaver
a-
Pond and in 5 acres and that, we'd like to protect that. But at the same time, it's a wonderful facility to also have that,
Okay, any other questions? Do we have anybody in the audience? No, okay. We need to do a recommendation to go to the planning board.
Yep.
So, do we have anybody who want to make a motion on that?
Oh, I will. Oh, look at me, Chief.
and we'll second it.
Okay, well, I would make a motion, I've got, and David, you have to help me, but I've got 3 parts. One, address this melting snow storage in such a way that that meltwater is prevented from going into the wetland. And I'll leave it up to the engineers to figure out how to do that. That would be number one. Number two, make sure that the landscaping notes include the use of native plants. Number three, the detention ponds or filtration ponds all need to have the typical maintenance.
Checkup,
I-
schedule or.
there's a
Maintenance agreement.
Maintenance,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Maintenance agreement to make sure that we do not proliferate invasives, especially where you're right next to this huge wet area. We don't want to give all those nasty things a place to live.
It's a pond, really.
And I think that's it, unless there's something else, David. I got those
I think
three.
you covered it. The
I covered it.
questions I had were all pretty much answered by the applicant.
Okay, we have a second on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Right,
We work
Sonia?
as a team.
Okay.
very
Patty, please.
disorganized.
That went with it.
That's what I thought.
That's
Thank
part
you.
of it.
Thank you for your
The
time.
very last.
Okay.
It is beautiful.
It
out
is,
there.
and it's very reassuring to see, 'cause, you know, and again, we're concerned about you.
Okay, thank you
Taking
very
care of
much.
the-
And now we
the
will.
soft things, but when you just
Send these down to Patty or-
Wonderful.
I'll think about that.
Here, get them out.
The keepers went out there and I decided.
Oh,
I didn't want Evelyn to give it
Now, are
back
you
to the
a
applicant,
Goffstown
because it
person,
was
or are you
on the
coming in
plan.
from elsewhere?
Okay, next we have,
Evelyn, we need to move on.
Sorry.
Is this right?
Bye.
okay, we have map 1, lot 36-3, review site plan review for the review and extended season outdoor venue known as the Garden at Uncanonic Mountain, that also is a single-family home located on the property. The zoner, Annette Ryanson, trust CO, Annette Ryanson, trust located at 452 Mountain Road, zone converts conservation open space, recommendation for planning. And this is beautiful.
Oh, I drive through there all the time, I love it.
So,
Beautiful.
do you want to present?
Yes, Alden Boschman from Keyland Enterprises. With me is one of the owners, Nettie Reinerson, and her husband for backup in the rear, Mark. Yeah, so I think a lot of you are familiar with this site. It has existed here. They've owned the property now, and there's been a house and several businesses on the site for 45 years. In the last 7 years, it had transitioned into the venue that it is today. And so what's happened over the years is that they've been operating for 7 years with a special event permit that they submitted every year. And they were asked recently to actually put together a plan for the planning board. There's absolutely no site changes being proposed.
Oh.
They just simply wanted to take, and the town wanted to document what the existing conditions and use were on the property. So we're scheduled to go before the planning board tomorrow night. And with that, we just wanted to take and obviously give the conservation a chance to have some input, if you'd like.
You really didn't need to make any changes up there.
No.
Yeah.
No, we've been working on it a while.
Yeah. So do we have any other comments other than it's,
Well, my big question has already been answered, because I was like, hasn't this been going on for some time anyway?
I was 24 when we bought the property. I'm 70.
Yeah, so they were operating with an event permit, and that wasn't the
Yeah.
proper process. And then when it went to planning, planning said they wanted to see a site plan,
Right.
so they put together a site plan, and part
we're-
of technical review, you
We're
provide
going to a
comments.
more permanent status instead of having to do an annual.
Can I go off
Special
point for a
permit.
second? Nettie, my husband,
so do we?
can I not?
I think most of us have all been up there, at least one or two times.
Can I say one thing to her?
And so do we have any other comments other than we're really happy that you have this place that's in
No,
town?
thank you. Thank you. We love it.
I still have so many plants that I bought when you had
Oh, yeah.
Me too.
your perennial gardens with the,
Do you want to pass
I'm
on
still growing them.
something,
Yeah, would,
like a nice comment? or-
yeah, like
Yeah, I
a nice.
do.
we need
Oh,
a-
That's what I said.
Nice
yeah.
comments are all nice, but we are an official
Yeah,
committee.
official.
But I mean,
Can we do
darn.
something that's within the
Recommending approval
purview
of the
of
site
what we're
plan?
charged to do? Like, say,
Well-
we have no concerns since there are no material changes to the design.
is
You
that your
know,
motion?
because
That's-
that seems a little more relevant for us as an official town committee. Nice comment.
Darn, I can't.
Don't mean to,
No,
take
you're
away your
good.
nice
You're
comment,
good.
I'm
Go
just.
ahead.
wanted
You
to
want
be
no
a little-
issues or concerns? Or just no concerns?
Well, I don't, well, do we have any issues or
We have no
concerns with
concerns.
anybody?
No.
No,
And-
but we need a motion.
I would
That's what
like
we're
to
doing.
But when
make,
we say no issues of concern, we should also be stating why. I always think that's important to say why. And the reason why is because there are no material changes being proposed.
Okay.
we looked at this property and before they got it. And Michael wanted to buy it because it was a sand pit.
It was a
Big
gravel.
gravel pit and he thought would make a,
Okay, we're working on the motion.
no, but
all
I'm
right.
just saying,
Yeah.
and they've improved it so much that to me.
There's
it's-
more
So we need
wildlife,
to add to this.
birds
Oh, it's
Yeah.
wonderful.
than there used to be.
Yeah.
Well, I'll second David's motion.
Okay, do we have any other things to add into that motion, though?
I think you summarized it well.
Yep, I got it.
I think it's a wonderful addition to our town.
You said,
Jane
Jane.
second.
Not an addition any longer,
No.
it's been there for.
I know, but it is really, it's a
Okay,
treasure.
well-
It's really lovely.
Those in
David made
favor?
the motion, I second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
Thank you very much.
Thanks for making me feel so appreciated.
No,
I
it's
know.
wonderful.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, corrections and acceptance of the minutes on December 11th. Do anyone have any comments on those?
What is this? Oh, are you
This is
collecting?
another
She's gonna
plan.
make
Oh, no, wait, I just put one here, okay.
And I'll collect them after.
Yeah.
Patty,
what is this?
It went to the other.
That was their profile of the building for,
Oh,
that was their architectural renderings, basically.
For
For
the,
what?
Of the TMS for the repair facility.
Oh,
oh,
It's actually plans that Jack would get, but that's what they submitted.
so that one we're not looking at.
You already looked at it.
Okay, I'll let them say it again.
Okay.
Any corrections to the minutes? We have a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept them, they
Can
look
you-
fine to me.
Second on that?
Aye.
Everyone seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposing? Abstaining? One abstention.
One abstain. Who abstained? Okay.
Okay, we have two things. We have the river report. We have a couple.
Yes.
We have a couple things.
I attended the Goffstown River Advisory Committee meeting last week, and we had a presentation on the freshwater, well, I shouldn't call them just freshwater, they're Andromeda's fish that migrate up the rivers, including into the Piscataqua, Black Brook, various other places. It was a fellow from Fish and Game, and it was very interesting, very informative, and we are planning, when the weather improves, to go to the new fish ladder that is being built in Hooksett, I believe. And we're hoping to go look at that, because one of the proposals for
Damascus?
Namaski Lake Dam is to either build some sort of fishway around or do some sort of trucking and carrying of fish. So we thought we'd go and look and see what they're doing. It was a very, very informative because the salmon are not migrating anymore. And it's because the conditions in the ocean have changed.
Oh,
The conditions have changed and they just aren't
Is it
coming.
too hot for them? The water's getting
It's,
too hot?
he didn't say that. He said it had to do with the food supply.
Well,
But they are
That must
migrating
be-
further, they're further north, they're going up in Maine,
Colder.
they've got fish. So it's Lowell and Lawrence, the two dams, the Lawrence Dam and the Lowell Dam. There are fish ladders, fish elevators, there's some very interesting construction. But most of it was built to move the salmon. And so now, there's eels, there's shad, there's a couple other fish that I can't remember right now. But they're working on modifying those structures because they weren't really designed
For them.
for them. But the whole thing, it's a very slow process to adjust the water flows, to figure out how, so the fish can find the fish ladder and not go through the turbine, which is bad. It was very interesting,
Yeah, it sounds-
very, very interesting.
Okay, thank you for going.
Can I just jump on that
Sure.
a little bit? We just got a letter from Corey this week. It was addressed to the select board, CO Word, New Hampshire. DES applied for funding for the fall of 2023 and support to install fish patches at Kelly Falls Dam in the Pecaswalk River. Unfortunately, NHDES was not successful in receiving the funding from NOAA. However, there is new funding opportunities through NOAA Fisheries, restoring fish passage through barrier removal grant. And that's restoring the fish passage through barrier removal, which would be a dam. New Hampshire DES is in the process of preparing a new application which will solely focus on receiving monies for the design of a volational fish passage structure with a trap and truck facility at Kelly Falls Dam. This change in scope is an attempt to better leverage the available grant funds and focus on the most pressing fish passage issue on the river. And what he was asking us is to send a letter encouraging the request for the grant. So that's where that stands.
Well, thank you, because that, we
So
didn't
is
have
that
that
letter
news last
coming-
week.
Okay.
No, that came in this week.
oh, and that letter is coming through the selectmen.
That came to the Board of
But
Selectmen.
they, okay, all right.
Because we had a letter that David helped get together that was sent from the rail trail, David, for the
Oh, was
bridge.
the ad hoc bridge committee.
To support the TAP grant.
Yeah,
So you guys need to vote to, after the fact, to send in the letter of support.
it's a letter of support, okay. Okay, we have,
You'll need to do that.
So do you want a
Well,
motion to?
Right.
oh,
Yeah,
to-
let me just say a few words because a presentation was made to the select board that was a pretty awful presentation in my opinion. Didn't even answer basic questions that were repeatedly put to them.
By me, I'm great. It was me.
But it was a perfectly straightforward question, and you didn't get a perfectly straightforward answer, and that's why I thank you for allowing me to speak, because I was going crazy in the back of the room, wondering why they didn't just answer the damn question. And the question was of whether or not applying for this grant would put us in a financial obligation for the matching funds. And the answer is no. Straightforward question, straightforward answer is no. What it does do is, if they make the award, then you have 5 years to come up with the rest of your plan to get your additional funding, whatever the source is. And it doesn't have to be a warrant article at all. In fact, I would be opposed to a warrant article personally. It can come from other grant sources, from other outside funding sources, from private fundraising, from all sorts of other things. And if you come up with it, then great, you can move forward and do the thing and get reimbursed by the state. If you don't come up with it, then, well, you tried. It failed,
And
end
it
of
failed.
story.
But this type of grant is, the town has to put the money up first, and then once the project gets complete, then you get the money from the state up to 80%. And my feelings was right from the very start, I'm sure David's heard me say it, that this, with fiscal situation with the town right now, is committing $230,000 into, it's nice to have instead of something that we really need to do was my problem. That was what I had. I said, with no guarantee that there was gonna be funds raised from someplace else, that just made me nervous, and I think I got that on the record that wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah, and I'm actually on the same side, I agree.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
And there was things that
Yes.
happened. David Pierce says, well, we can use, funds, and Parks and Rec funds, and Parks and Rec says, hell no. Yeah, I'm just saying, so, I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
there's one person saying we can use these impact fees, and another person says, you're not using my impact fees for that, I use it for other stuff, so.
Yeah, so I think as the way I put it in the meeting was,
You want to vote
really
on
what
that,
it does is it gives us an opportunity to see if we can come up with the alternative ways of finding that other money. And if we don't come up with it,
Then you
then we
don't.
don't do it.
That's
Yeah.
it.
You know, that's it, end of story as far as I'm concerned. But at least we have the opportunity, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't.
We need a motion on those.
What is the motion for?
Well, so David had,
She's-
before you met, had asked, because of the time frame to get this application that Adam was working on and Derek,
To send a letter.
to send a letter of support, so we did it.
So
And
you
we're,
need a motion to
to support-
support
Yeah, yeah,
for the
to send the letter
will
that
be
we already
sent,
sent.
yes.
You just
I
made a
make
motion.
that motion.
And I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We also need to, there's, for the committee,
yeah,
there's going to be a open space committee set up. It's going to have,
zoning ordinance rewrite committee on the
Yeah.
open space.
That's a better way to call it. We already have an open space committee, let's
Okay.
not confuse things.
so we need, they're going to have 2 people from conservation, 2 people from planning board.
And then one from ZBA and staff.
All right,
Good.
so we're going to have 2 people here. David, I know you would have most of the open space thing, and
I would like to, I would like to sit on the board, on this committee, but if
It's just-
somebody else wants to too,
And it's just during this, like,
I'm sure,
starting, it'll be done by September.
well, I would think
September's
there
the
would
other
definitely
date.
be a time frame.
Yeah,
I think
it's
when I went to
true.
the meetings,
Yeah.
that they were saying, let's not just let this go forever and ever, and I don't think we want to do that. I think,
No, there's a time, it'd just be this year.
Yeah.
so, David,
What?
you will agree to be on the board?
Yeah, I think everybody's expecting me to do it, including the people on the planning. Because the planning board members were talking to me before this was even
Well-
proposed.
Well, David,
asking
you're gonna
if I
do this,
could.
right?
Did you hear me say that?
I heard him say that.
Okay. So do we have a motion to appoint David?
I'll make that motion, Evelyn Miller and
David,
David Neiman, to be on the open space committee for the planning board.
Open
Okay.
Space
Really not an
Ordinance
open
Committee.
space.
Ordinance
the
committee.
ordinance,
Right, and it's-
Rewrite.
rewrite.
right.
The
It's,
OSO.
actually, I think it's called.
Okay,
Cluster
I
second it.
development.
Amy second. All those in
Cluster
favor?
development, really?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
Are you in favor of it?
Huh?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, I think I got everything.
I think you are.
Unless
David,
David
you-
has to.
Patty,
David,
now, I know we
anything
haven't
else?
even gotten together with this group and all, but they
Okay.
did say that there are other ordinances for in the state,
on the
and I
back.
think we'd really
You
like
have
to
to-
see those, so is that something that you
Evelyn,
would contact the
you should talk to me.
commission?
Well, the committee you're on is for the open space rewrite, so what are you asking me for that or something else?
Isn't there part of that, the cluster
Oh, we
development?
should-
Okay, I'll talk to Jane.
We need to have a
Okay,
conversation.
when do you?
I know someone who
Oh,
writes these.
Okay, Amy has,
The meeting's
oh,
tomorrow, so.
do you want to
Never
explain
mind.
that?
you didn't
Amy
hear
has
me say
something
a
she,
thing, Pat.
Okay.
Amy's going to speak for a minute.
Okay.
Amy never speaks.
I don't. Senate Bill 55, it looks like Patty had printed that out and included it
passed
in
out.
the back, at your seat, and you might have probably received an email as well individually from the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commission. So you can, obviously, as an individual, address your opposition to it if you feel so, or you could also, as a commission, send a letter as well, an email, if we are all in agreement as a commission if we do not agree with this Senate Bill 55. Now, tomorrow, the 23rd, right? Do I have my time
Yeah,
right?
it's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow, so I don't know, that's something Patty could get together that quickly, but we could at least send an email to the Senate committee who's reviewing this, and if we are all in opposition of Senate Bill 55.
Could you get that together fast enough?
Yeah, I don't know if you just
Oh,
sent it
okay.
to me, but-
It could be literally just a couple sentences, you know, and emailing the entire Senate committee who is
Who I don't know.
putting this forth.
You go online and find
I
out for
read the
something.
email that we received
I read
on
the
this.
gist.
I don't
This
know
is
if
really
everyone else
important
did.
because this is our,
Cups our
this
funds,
is,
cups our
this is
funding.
our money.
Correct. the
Right.
That we
land use
use-
change
Yeah,
tax
so we're not
Yeah.
in favor of that.
is
no.
funded.
No, I know, but that's, I know that's the same thing, I'm saying like,
Senate Bill 55, not in favor.
Patty sent the email a little while ago, and
I can
it's,
look and see if there was something, Scott. I came from the assessor that sent it to me because he
And-
got something.
it's
Well,
it's
it would have a
extremely important to
devastating,
us for our
it would be.
funds.
a devastating impact for every conservation commission in the state that,
Right.
you know, has a land use change tax conservation fund, which has been invaluable because it's like seed money that you can amplify. You know, with that in your pocket, you can apply for all these other grants and bring it in, and it's been hugely successful for us
Yeah.
and other towns as well.
But there
Can
is such
someone
a push in
attend?
the state for housing, to reduce housing costs.
Yes, it's
And,
the housing hysteria.
Does it say that you
yeah,
could send
so
an
that's,
email?
you know, just like like they want to put, allow manufactured housing on any lot, you don't, you know, and another bill that's there, and so this is, I imagine this is kind of the same thing where, you know, they want to take your money or our money and
Yeah, that's where it's coming from, but I mean, all of us have seen in the past year a big uptick here in town
Oh, yeah.
of new, I mean, we're reviewing proposals for housing again, which for a long stretch didn't happen, and it didn't happen, why? Because everything went crazy. I mean, I've been in New Hampshire only 30-some years, but I've seen 2 boom and 2 bust cycles in housing in that amount of time. And nothing fundamentally has changed. We're in a big bust cycle that lasted a long time because of the extremes of 2008, 2009, and what happened. So many people got burned by all the speculative housing. And so, yeah, that's the market at work. And now it's swinging back the other way. Housing got short, prices went up. Now people are starting to build again. So I think it's a hysterical reaction to a market that's going to resolve itself out in time, and probably in a few years we'll be sitting back and looking at, oh my God, housing crisis
back
now
down
is the
again.
prices are crashing because they overbuilt.
The other thing I would really like to add to that too, though, is that our
I can't find
Our
anything
town
on the Patty.
has a personality, or I mean, and I'm saying all of Goffstown with the mountains included and the open space, and the farms that you put into, you know, I mean, part of the
Well,
the
yes.
personality of the town is to preserve that type of thing, and I do think having a fund that is usable so that we could continue to add that, and then still have good planning for housing, but not just
Well-
take that fund away or open it up to everything. We don't want it to become a one big suburb.
Right, smart planning.
The
Yes.
smart thing.
Smart
The other
development.
aspect of this bill is it's really only for large
So
development
these are the
projects.
sponsors of
It's
the
not for the smaller individuals, it's not for smaller local developers, it's geared towards the big guys.
But that's where the
It's a-
big money is.
That's where the big money is. It's a big, wet, sloppy kiss to the developers that, and by the way, come in and nobody's really talking about the flip side of this is if you build up a lot of housing,
Yeah.
well, that's just gonna drive your property taxes up
Oh,
even higher, because you don't want me to go off on my rant about, cost of community service studies, because you've all heard it a million times already, but that's still true.
It is still
That's still
true.
gonna happen.
One of the sponsors is one of our state
One of our,
reps.
yes,
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
Joe Alexander.
Alexander.
I would add, my concern is this opens the door to sort of a creep to take maybe not just the big developments, but then take the change of use tax away completely. I mean, it would, and you'll never get it back. You know that when these things happen, there's no clause in here that will say, after 5 years, it reverts back.
But it's also a fairness issue though, too, if you stop and think about it. You enroll your property in current use, you get a tax reduction. You're saving not having to pay that all those years. And the reason for doing that is to help conserve land, because
Right.
that was the whole intent of current use.
Right.
So now you take away that on the other end, and people, especially the larger properties that have gotten this tax break, now they don't have to pay the land use change tax, which is supposed to compensate because, well, you're not conserving it anymore, now you're,
It's sort of the
you're
punishment.
developing it, so
Yeah.
it's only fair that some of those taxes
They
come
got,
back.
Right.
they got a free ride for
They
a
got a
few
free
years,
ride.
and then now the penalty, which is really more or less a penalty, is gone. I mean,
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that just seems inherently unfair as well.
Well, there's people that would like to do away with current use too.
So,
I mean,
Patty,
and the land use change
I
tax
mean, I can
is
do the
only a
letter and I
one-time
can send it to
deal.
Yeah.
our rep,
So-
Okay.
whoever I'll
do
find
we
out.
need a motion
who's
on that,
got to
that
help.
Patty will be sending a letter?
If everyone agrees, I feel
Well-
like we should
That's what I'm saying,
collectively
that's- we need
submit the Goffstown Conservation Commission.
Right.
And
Yes.
you could-
So,
And not only to the Senate committee, but also to our local reps.
right. So
Yes,
I'm just
yes.
going to go around
And I'll
and
even
make sure
give it to the
everybody
select board.
agrees.
Right, we need,
Or-
Agree on Patty sending a letter?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Amy?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Can anyone go? Did you have the date? Did you
It's
see when
tomorrow.
it-
it's at
She
10
said
a.m., I believe.
Oh.
The email
Tomorrow.
had it very specifically right, so sorry, I don't know if you can get it out quick enough first thing in the morning.
I mean, I can do it, but I don't know if it will make it there.
Via email, you're saying?
Yeah.
doesn't matter anyway, just somebody's got to open, it's from Goffstown, forget it.
Somebody's got a what?
I mean, we can
Somebody's gotta
send it,
accept
but
it.
so,
Yeah.
So it would be good to send it, even if it's not going to make it.
I'm
there
just
in
like, I
time.
don't know if someone will see it before this meeting.
Exactly.
Well, that's the hearing for it, but when do they actually vote on it?
No, good question.
I'm not sure.
That's
I
true,
think it's
too.
important to send it.
I do
No,
too.
I will,
I
but
think
I'm
it's
just saying,
important to
like, I'll
send it.
try, I'll
And
send it, but I don't know
to
if they'll
all the
see it.
reps because.
Absolutely going to do her best, but if it just might not get there for the meeting.
Right.
That's fine.
And that's very
You can
understandable.
individually send your own email
Yeah.
if you like.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have anything else? If
So
not,
who do we send it to if we decide we want to send our own individual?
Yes, representative
You
there.
look them up.
Okay,
I'll tell you in a minute.
okay.
Okay, do we have anything else?
You want a motion to adjourn?
Sure.
You always look at me.
No.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I want to make sure everybody's ready.
Well, do you want to second it? I think it's always good to have newer people just get right in there.
I second it.
Okay, we're all set.
You
You have to vote
All
on
in
it.
favor?
The meeting is
Aye.
Aye.
opposed,
Meeting's adjourned.
adjourned. I was
Oh, absolutely, jump right in.